Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And I'm going to try to muddle my way through this when my voice isn't 100%.
Yeah,
yet.
I explained in another video that you were yelling at the dogs for chasing the cat, and now you messed your voice up.
Yes,
So.
well, I was trying to save the cat, because I didn't want the cat to hurt it. I don't think the dogs would have hurt them, but the cat might have hurt himself. Trying to get away from the dogs. Anyway, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Gen Z. We got a bunch of articles pulled up. The lead article is Gen Z doesn't even want to work with other Gen Z employees. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Gen Z wanting work-life balance and how untenable that is, I think, in today's economy. But some of them
are not wrong. I mean, they're not wrong. They're like, companies aren't going to do anything for them, and they're not wrong.
No. So I think they're starting to wise up to the way things actually work that we had learned later in life. I mean, it took me until probably 30 plus years old to realize that the company didn't give a shit about me.
Mm-hmm.
all of the ones I've worked, well, I can't say all of them. Most companies I've worked for, most corporations, they don't really care about you. But we'll take a look at these articles and see if this is just a stereotype, if this is legitimate, that Gen Z actually doesn't want to work. This one's saying they don't want to work because they all want to be influencers and get paid millions of dollars.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're like, it get rich with that much effort. I hate to break it to you. It isn't just easy as to slap something up. There's work involved in it. Like, you don't just get paid to just slap up a picture of yourself or a video of yourself. There's lots of things you have to do to get the video up, to get it found, et cetera, et cetera. That's, it doesn't take much effort. Au contraire. So,
a lot of these people have teams that work underneath them that make them look good and do a lot of the heavy lifting for them, so it's a whole thing. Anyway,
I have a husband, does the same thing. Anyway.
Who's that? Should I be concerned?
I didn't tell you about him. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Am I going to be in trouble?
For what?
Being your work husband.
Yeah. I'll just take you home. Anyway,
okay.
Let's go ahead. Hey, before we get into it any further, do you want to talk about the crowdfunder?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I don't know if the audience wants us to talk about more, but that's okay.
It's limited time. That's why.
Limited time. So you have until next Friday to back.
You're keeping it open a little bit longer, though, right?
I am going to keep it open, yeah. So this is Geeky's Christmas pins. People wondered where they were. We wanted to wait until we got the Halloween pins out to launch this. Fortunately, the Halloween pins came about a week and a half, 2 weeks later than we had hoped for. But the Christmas pins are up. We have to end the Kickstarter on Friday to get that money in time to get those produced. But we will keep it open a little bit longer. We're going to do an overrun, I think, on them. We're going to kind of gauge how many we think we're realistically going to sell. But if you want to be guaranteed to get those pins, you're going to have to back them by Friday. And they're glittery this time. We had glow-in-the-dark pins last time.
Yes.
And these are all retro glittery designs, and she's done all of these, actually.
Well, no, the space, I didn't do the Santa.
I did Santa. But
the rest
these,
of them I did.
Yeah, these we're going to check with the manufacturer and see, but we're hoping to be able to actually make these able to be hung on the tree as ornaments, too. So looking into that. If you guys didn't get a Clownfish TV pin, you can pick one of those up, too. And we have stretch goals. We're going to get the geeky Christmas pin made like the witch pin if we hit the stretch goal.
Oh, I think we're good. You can probably stop now.
All right. Well, you wanted me to talk about it, so we're talking.
It's not that long. Anyway, let's talk about what people are here for.
Yeah, that's okay. So Gen Z doesn't want to work with other Gen Z employees. So we've done a lot of Gen Z videos because the stereotype seems to be that Gen Z doesn't want to do anything. Gen Z's not terribly intelligent. Gen Z is unmotivated. And I think it becomes this kind of feedback loop, right? My personal feeling is because there are all these headlines out there talking about some Gen Z that employers are staying away from them.
Yeah, and I don't think it's really fair because I think that they're painting everyone with a broad brush. Not saying this doesn't exist, that there are people who are like this, because I know 100% there are.
Oh, there are people in our generation that are lazy.
Well, I would say before this, they were picking on millennials all the time.
Millennials, yeah.
So, and then before that, it was us. But,
they forgot all about us. They always do.
I know, a lot of times they do. I think that, for everyone that's really egregiously, terrible, I think there's, a bunch that aren't. But unfortunately, everybody is getting lumped together.
Yeah, so I think what happens is it becomes a feedback loop where the companies don't hire Gen Z because they read all these headlines about kind of the worst of Gen Z, and then Gen Z kind of gives up because they're like, well, if I'm not going to get a job anyway, what the hell's the point, you know? And that's unfortunate, it really is. But this is coming from Newsweek. Gen Z doesn't want to work with other Gen Z employees, according to Newsweek. Gen Z is cringing at the prospect of working with other Gen Z, continuing a trend among some workers in which they dislike working with the younger generation, according to a new report. So the survey of 2,000 Gen Z found that 31% feel they're the most annoying to work with. That was compared to just 20% who said baby boomers. Baby boomers were the worst. Boomers.
Wow. You're worse than boomers, according to other Gen Z.
I don't think they mentioned Gen X in this at all.
Nah, we never. They just count us as boomers, even though we're not. But yeah,
boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. That's, you know. So recent intelligent.com survey found that 1 in 6 businesses said they were hesitant to hire recent college grads over concerns about how prepared they are for work, as well as their communication skills and professionalism. And 6 in 10 employers had already fired college grads who were hired in 2024.
Well, there was another article, I don't know if you have it pulled up or not, that I sent you that said that the college, or not college grads, the Gen Z people were actually saying 24 or so percent said they themselves didn't think that they were ready for the workplace. Or like, not because they can't, but they don't feel like they had the proper training to from college and stuff to be ready.
Well, I think that's, I mean, you know, we talk about that all the time with school. And, you know, when our son was going, I'm like looking at his assignments. I'm like, none of this is going to be applicable in the real world.
Yeah, you're just wasting a lot of money. College is just a waste of money. It's ridiculous. I mean, it depends on what your major is. But like, you know, it's ridiculously lame. And then they're not even the teachers and the students are just using ChatGPT to write the work.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when the teachers are using Chat GPT and then they're trying to outsmart the kids. So they're like, oh, the kids are using Chat GPT. I'm like, bitch, you're phoning it in too. And I've seen it. These professors, they just phone it in. These teachers, even like her daughter goes to cyber school and some of the stuff she gets, I'm kind of like, what? You know, like, are you guys, like, are you paying attention? Is anybody anywhere paying attention?
You know what? Ironically, I think those teachers that are doing it are Gen Z teachers.
Probably.
Because usually a lot of them are just like newer teachers.
Yeah. Oh, never mind. We did get name checked. In the survey, 14% said Gen X was the most annoying.
No, only 14. Damn. We need to try harder.
12% said the same about millennials. Gen X doesn't put up with your shit. And a lot of us now are becoming the bosses, the business owners. So we're kind of like, yeah, we're latchkey kids. We don't give a shit. You know, we had to do
like cry harder and do your job.
Yeah, pretty much. 80% said they're mistreated in the workplace, and 48% believe they will make better bosses than their millennial counterparts.
Yeah, but to be fair, when you're young, you always think you're going to do better than everybody else. I mean,
I remember when I was younger, I was kind of like, well, someday I'm going to grow up I don't want to be that guy. Someday I'm going to grow up to not be that guy. And then the older I got, I'm like, oh shit, it makes sense now. I understand why they said what they said, why they did what they did, even if it hurt my feelings. I get it. I get it now, because you need to make sure the company, you know, stays solvent. You can't just do whatever feels good. You got to make sure that the company stays solvent or nobody has a job. I get it now. And, you know, I didn't get it back then. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, people aren't going to take advantage of the situation and treat people like shit and say that they're doing it for the betterment of the company. But, you know, a lot of employees...
if you're working with Gen X, they probably won't even be doing it on purpose to hurt your feelings. They'll see blunt, because that's what we do.
Pretty much, yeah. Said it makes sense that Gen Z prefers millennials as coworkers. Said this HR consultant, millennials are collaborative but grounded. They came up during the shift from analog to digital, as did we. We're actually technically Zennials, I guess, because they call us the Oregon Trail generation. We're actually between Gen X and millennial. Like, we were the very first kids to have computers in the classrooms, and so they blend tech fluency with patience and empathy. Actually, I would take Gen Z over millennials in a lot of cases, at least if we're gonna do stereotypes. Because to me, every time I see the man bun and I see the woke outrage, I'm thinking millennial. not Gen Z.
Yeah, but again, like I said, it's all stereotypes.
It's all stereotypes.
But a lot of times stereotypes are there for a reason. Unfortunately, I think Gen Z is getting the brunt of it.
Yeah, well, I think it's just a lot of things are coming to a head, and they are getting the brunt of it because we have a massive change in the workforce, and it's not enough. For decades, you were like, oh, you get your college degree, you go get a job, you work that job forever, and now it's just like, no, even white collar workers are disposable. Actually, white collar workers are more disposable than manual laborers now, because those jobs can be automated more easily or outsourced.
Yeah, job security. Go find a job that's more of what would be considered blue collar job, because you're going to have more job security and you probably get paid better. So.
Gen Z grew up in constant comparison mode. They had to brand themselves since middle school.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What the hell are we talking? Okay.
We're talking about the influencer mentality.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there because that is a mindset, and that's one thing that has definitely changed in recent years. And I think that started with millennials. Is once people realized that you could make money online, everybody wanted to do that. Like, I remember a couple of years ago, they said that being a YouTuber was like the goal for most kids in school.
Yeah. Well, apparently it still is. That would be the same generation, because it was several years ago, and that would be the Gen Zs now.
The older Gen Zs, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, everybody wanted to be a YouTuber. And then I remember they had an article out, and they were trying to pop that bubble, because they're like, yeah, statistically speaking, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than to become a multimillionaire on YouTube, because there's so many people that wanted to do it. And I would argue, though, that a lot of it is just people don't have the willpower to stick it out.
You have to have a work ethic. You have to have a strong work ethic. And that's why it was so funny to me when you had the other article pulled up and what they were saying, which we'll get to that in a minute. But I was like, this one, yeah. I was like, oh, that's funny.
So they said that this says less about Gen Z's work ethic, right, and more about the environment they've inherited. Why does everybody blame the generation before them for all the problems? I mean, that's always
because not all of them came from that generation, but they do usually trickle. It usually trickles down.
They entered a workforce defined by burnout, layoffs, and performative hustle culture. They crave mentorship and stability, things they associate with millennials, not peers still finding their footing. Millennials didn't have stability. Millennials,
we had to hear about that all the time.
We had to hear about that all the time. And
we
then
didn't have stability either.
Oh my God, no. Gen X, we're always worried about, this is going to be nuclear war. We had the 80s were fantastic, but then they ended with a
by the
huge
time we got out there, it was like, it was 90s and everything kind of sucked.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, we both graduated high school in the 90s, and the economy kind of crashed and burned, right? But Gen Z, like our kids, they were pretty young at the time, but the 2008 crisis, like we try to explain to them, like, the stores you guys used to like to go to, they're not around anymore. Daddy doesn't have a job. And that was me with like years of experience. They're just like, yep, you're done. So I mean, there hasn't really been any like stability, I don't think, in the job market for decades. I mean,
it's not just, and it's across the board. Like, everybody can look at their situation and think it's only them, but it's not true. Even older people, they don't even have enough for retirement, a lot of them, because the stuff's been cut, companies have been taking money, things cost a lot more than they had planned. Like 50 years ago, when you started setting back for retirement or whatever for these older people, stuff didn't cost what it costs now. So by the time you come out of it, it's like you have a lot of money until you don't, because stuff is so much more expensive now than when you started putting money back.
I'm just sitting here looking at, like, did we really have, because we talk about, like, everybody wants, like, we want the golden age of America. And I'm looking back at the last century, and I'm like, there's a lot of upheaval and strife. And when people think of like the golden age of America, I think they're thinking post-war into the late 60s. So like maybe 20 years. Maybe probably 20 years that we would have what we consider like the American dream era. And then
I'd say the 80s was kind of like that too. And then,
but we had the 70s when the economy kind of
right. And then the 90s happened. It's going
to cycles. It always cycles.
It does. It's always cyclical. Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that. Like, I mean, they talk about the boomers, and they talk about the older folks, and they don't realize how good they had it. I'm like, my grandparents grew up during the Great Depression, right?
So did my grandma, yeah.
Yeah, and I had to hear the horror stories about that. And like, then we had most people went off to war. Um, it's kind of like, I mean, they're complaining about the internet and they're complaining about not getting enough, retweets or reshares or whatever on social media. And meanwhile, in the 60s and 70s, kids, 17 years old were going overseas to die.
Yeah. My dad was in the Vietnam War, and they had friends. My mom and dad had friends that didn't make it back. Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle, he was over there too. And it's just like, I mean, he was telling me about, your dad was telling me about his one friend from high school. He never made it back. Yeah.
Yep.
And, I mean, you're talking 17, 18-year-old kid. So, I mean, so that's leading into this. Altogether, 40% of Gen Z said they're living through the worst time in human history. Oh, and 41% are somewhat convinced we would be better off offline. I do agree with
I'm not
that.
disagreeing with them. I mean, we'd not have this job, but I don't disagree with them. I think people are too connected, and there's this definite effort, want from Gen Z to go back to what it was like in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that.
What they thought it was like.
Yeah, so what they think it was like.
So let me, true. Yeah. And that's one thing we actually we're going to be doing more of on the Substack, the more.clownfishtv.com, is talking about what it was actually like in the 80s, because the 80s that you see in sitcoms is not the 80s that actually existed for most people. And I think people have, same with Friends. They're like, oh my God, guys, it was great. In the 90s, you could have this huge ass apartment in New York and work retail and, or do whatever the hell Phoebe did.
People used to complain about that all the time back then. They're like, how the flip are these supposed to be affording this apartment? How? Like, they're all like, of these little side jobs. There's no way in hell they could afford this apartment. And that was like a running joke back in the 90s. Same with the McAllister's house in Home Alone. It's like, what the flip does the dad do?
Well, they actually did explain Kevin's dad, supposedly, because they lived in, I think it was Grosse Pointe. And I think it was Grosse Pointe. I don't know. Anyway, they think he was an advertising executive for a car company, like he was a VP or something, which would make sense.
You'd have to be, because
you have to be.
People couldn't. Like, oh, back then you could afford this stuff. No, you couldn't. Or if you did, a few years later, you couldn't.
Yeah, and all those 80s movies, especially the John Hughes movies, and even the sitcoms back then, like every family, until Roseanne came on, every family on TV in the 80s had entirely too much money. And you're like, what the hell did they do? Mr. Belvedere, how do you afford a butler?
Well, the Cosbys, like, they were doctors. So
that makes sense. Yeah. Cliff was a doctor. That made sense. And the Fresh Prince, okay, that was 90s. But still, like, you had so many sitcoms where everybody was really freaking ridiculously wealthy. You had, even the Facts of Life, where they're in an exclusive private school, and then you have Different Strokes, where Drummond's a millionaire, and God, there was a running theme of millionaires adopting black children, white millionaires adopting black children.
Yeah, then it moved to Hollywood.
But now I'm sitting there thinking, like, we had Webster, we had Different Strokes, we had, oh my God, that's weird. But
I was just thinking Angelina Jolie.
Anyway. Angelina Jolie. Okay. But no, I was thinking the Papadopouloses. I don't even know what I think he was like a sportscasters too. That was a big thing. And then I was trying to think what the other one was with holy shit, Growing Pains. He was a psychiatrist, but he worked out of his house, which was weird.
Yeah, that's weird. For then it was weird. But yeah, like, everything looks like it's better than it was. But I mean, that being said, the 80s was pretty awesome compared to now. So,
Yeah, but it didn't. Okay, so that's the thing too. The 80s was pretty awesome, but the free money, that only lasted like 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Because we had the stock market crash in 87.
Mm-hmm. And before that, the late 70s, they had all the issues they had too. So people did okay for a few years. And then, and back then you didn't have all the competition from foreign companies like you do now, because everything's so interconnected. But anyway, I do agree that it would be better to go back to having malls again and not being connected online so much and everything else. But now that they're tripling down on AI on every company ever, I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
No. So this was just a couple of weeks ago. This is why Gen Z hates work. When you spend hours each day watching influencers get rich without much effort, you forget what it takes to succeed in this world. What a boomer take.
And the thing is, it looks like there's not a lot of effort, Well, some of these people might not be, depending if they're
Some
like,
people
paid
fall.
by.
Some people fall into it.
Yeah, I mean, if they have a team and they're like if they're paid to do these things, okay. But for most of us who do this kind of stuff, it's not easy and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, let me tell you too. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Influencer culture, a lot of it's propped up with venture capital, and a lot of it is fake.
Yeah, a lot of it's bullshit.
A lot of it's bullshit. There are a couple of agencies. I don't think they're doing as much as they used to, but they were really propping up certain people. They were cutting deals for them. They were pumping money into promoting them. They were manufactured. It was just like Hollywood, just like a totally different,
Yeah, and just because you appear big doesn't mean your views are real. Doesn't mean your subscribers are real. There's a lot
That
of
is
things go
also
into
true.
it. We saw this with webcomics too, and they can
Yes.
be making zero money or very little money, even though they look like they're really big because a lot of it's this bullshit.
Yeah, it's so this guy, okay, this is just kind of, I mean, look, if you can do it, do it. But this guy, he didn't want to look for a job. I guess he couldn't find a job. He's 23-year-old.
I mean, I get it. If you can't find
graduate.
a job and you don't know what else you're going to do, I get it.
Yeah, he said he had 5 or 6 interviews for each company, and then they would ghost him for weeks. Now
That sucks.
that
That's not
is something
okay.
I'm hearing a lot.
Not
that's
okay.
happening.
Companies, that's not okay. And
They-
I will back Gen Z or any generation on that one. That's not okay. That's not acceptable behavior.
They used to send out letters. If you didn't get the job, you would get a letter. A
So
lot
you
of times.
knew.
So you knew. So you weren't looking. You weren't holding out hope. Now, I've had before where it was weird, where I didn't hear anything from the company. I assumed they moved on. I took another job, and then they called me back like 2 weeks later, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come work for us?" I'm like, "You're too late. I already took the job." I had that one company. Do you remember that one? It was. I swear to God, it was a year after I interviewed. That one.
The one that
marketing
you were in
position.
between the two the locations. That
Yes.
one? Yes.
Yes. And they called me back like a year after, I swear to God.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Hey, we'd like to offer you the job." I'm like, that was a year ago.
Yeah, I know,
That was
right?
a year ago. Like, do you understand? Like, I've more than moved on. I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, it was a good position, but I'm like, did you hire somebody else and they fucked up? Is
That's
that
probably what happened. That's probably what
And
happened.
I'm just
And
sitting
it's
here,
like, I'm no one's second choice, bitch. Unless there's a lot of zeros in that check.
I know, right? I'm sitting there like, I got a family, I got a mortgage. I wasn't sitting around waiting for you to call me. What the hell are you doing? But yeah, I mean, I'm hearing this is happening a lot. But he said, yeah, they weren't getting back to him. They were postponing the roles for like 6 months, 12 months. I mean,
Well, there's
again,
also that whole thing that they're doing where they're to get kickbacks, that they advertise jobs that aren't really there. Because
Yeah.
then the government was giving them supposedly, or they were getting some kind of breaks, incentives, and stuff to have positions open, and they just never filled them.
yeah. So this guy said, he had to sit and think about it, but he said he had a couple of videos blow up around 5,000. He got about 5,000 followers, right?
Well,
People
that's
don't
not
realize
blowing up.
how many followers you have to actually make a like you can make some money at, but to make a living at, you got to have a shit ton. Like in most cases, millions. Like, I'm sorry. He started to read strategies on finding your niche. He said he started posting videos on drag queen races. He studies successful
Drag queen
influencers.
races? Okay.
Yeah, hoping to discern the secret sauce. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell. If they're telling you, it's because they've already moved on to something else and they're giving you their leftovers. I mean, I'm telling you as a marketing guy, that's how it works. You never make your own competition. You let them figure it out for themselves, and you also throw a few things in there to lead them down.
However, studying people where you are at where you want to be is not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea. I've had moments throughout my career where I thought that if I was really just persistent and started posting, that could be me. So this pull quote was, influencers are being so open and honest about making 4 times as much as their old 9-to-5s.
I don't know if they're being open and honest. Some of them I think are full of shit.
Some of them I think are full. So this is okay. I'm going to read this and I'm going to tell you here what I think, because I've seen this a lot. They're open and honest about making 4 times as much as their old 9-to-5s, having such flexible lifestyles. It's opened my generation's eyes into what's possible, says Daniel Ham. This is a guy. Makes you feel completely disillusioned, and it's made Gen Z nihilistic about working. Let me tell you what's potentially going on. You're being sold a pig and a pope. This is the same spiel that multi-level marketing
I was
places,
just gonna say it's like multi-level marketing, yeah.
Market America, Amway, Mary Kay. I've known people that have done all these things. this is what they do. They sell you the dream. And then there's always like, oh, you have to buy my kit. Most of these people are like, if you buy my course, this can be you. Look at this wonderful lifestyle I have. There's one guy who used to do videos on YouTube years and years ago. I don't even know if he's still around, but he had like a Lamborghini behind him because that was supposed to be like, oh, this is, look, I got this Lamborghini, so buy my financial success kit or whatever. And it turned out that the car wasn't actually his.
Yeah,
it's like somebody else. Yeah, somebody else's car. Because it's all about looking the part, and they will tell you this in multi-level marketing. It's about looking the part so you can get people to jump into the boat.
Basically, what you need to get a bunch of people to work under you so that you get a cut of their money and stuff. And the people at the top make money. People at the bottom don't get shit. But yeah. What were you saying?
I'm just saying it's an old scam, the pyramid thing. Watch the was it Lou LaRue? I almost said LaBoo. The Lou LaRue documentary where they talked about there were people living the dream, but it was only like 5 or 6 of them. Everybody else was making money for the people at the top.
And then people keep thinking this is this glorious lifestyle and everything else like they have here. They said influencers influencers being so open and honest about making 4 times. Okay, he said whatever, but he said before that. They're saying about they have open schedules and they're sitting down at dinner with their friends. What's that like? What is a weekend? What is this thing called vacation? So we don't do that.
Let me tell you, because this is not the only thing we do. We actually do a lot of things. We've done a lot of things online, which kind of led to us doing this. We put in more hours between all the things that we do than any day job I've ever had. Because you're not done. You're not done at 4 or 5 o'clock. You always have to be on. You always have to constantly be on. And then you have to worry about people coming at you for your opinions. You got to worry about people trying to stab you in the back.
Stuff we get all the time.
You have to worry about people sending weird ass boxes to your house. You have to worry
about people sending weird ass messages to you, which is why I don't check my messages on Twitter anymore.
And people are like, oh, you guys are hard to get a hold of. I'm like, well, if we're hard to get a hold of, it's because we've had incidents with, it comes with it. And there are so many people out there, they fantasize about what they think it's like for people who do online stuff. They fantasize about, but they don't know what's actually like. And they're also looking at a distorted version of reality.
Well, it's a lot of work. They keep acting like, it's so easy. Yeah. You just document what you do and you make a lot of money. But it's not as easy as that. Maybe for TikTok and Instagram, it's a little easier because you can just take your video off your phone. But when you're doing other things, you have like different steps you have to do. You have to come up with a thumbnail. You have to come up with a write-up. You have to come up with ideas. You have to do all these things. And it takes a long time to do it.
We do podcast content, but I'm looking at these people, like I've been watching the Y-Files lately because I know Gary from Neurotic has been talking about it. So I'm like, okay, I'll go check it out. I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy's actually really good. But it's very polished, very scripted. And I can't imagine how long and how many people it takes to actually put those shows together.
Yeah, and if you're doing it yourself, you're going to have to do everything yourself. And some people, a lot of people have teams. A lot of people are being funded by somebody, like the figurehead or whatever. But it's not as easy, and it's not as easy to just do it. Some people, you might stumble into it. I did a couple videos that went great, and that's good, except you have to have all your videos do that, or you're not going to be able to stick at it. You can't depend on it because the way Google's going lately, we just did the video the other day about YouTube and how they're just not paying as much as they used to. And now they're going to try to push Hollywood content over creators. TikTok and Instagram don't pay shit. So it's like if you want to get paid, YouTube was your best bet. And now that might be going away.
That's going away,
I'm just being honest with you. It's like, I'm not saying you can't do it. You totally can do it. Just go in eyes wide open and know that it's not as easy as it looks.
Well, this is written apparently by a Zoomer. It said Gen Z doesn't want entry-level jobs. They don't want middle management roles either, with nearly 70% of my generation dismissing them as high stress, low reward.
Well, that's quite true.
Yeah, that's true. We know what you think of Zoomers. We have an attitude problem, but the conversations I have with fellow Gen Z for this story suggest it's not so much an attitude problem, but an Instagram-induced delusion.
Yeah. It sucks. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, but you're going to have to.
People want all the reward. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want, and this is the same.
They don't want to do the work.
They don't want to do the work. And
no, of course, it's not everyone.
It's not everybody. And that's the thing too. Like, I want to be very clear, and we're not, and I said this up front, we do these Gen Z videos because everybody's got this, like hang up about Gen Z, but there are Gen Z that work very, very hard. But I do think that in a lot of ways they've been sold a lie, because they're like, oh, well, that's okay. I don't have to go work a job. I can just go, go out to Instagram or TikTok and I'll be living on easy street. I'm like, you know how many social media platforms have come and gone, have imploded since we've been on the internet? Like, can you imagine somebody being like, yeah, I'm going to make my living on MySpace? I'm like,
I know. Right?
All
I just
right.
remember we were looking at a couch. We were trying to buy a couch a couple years ago. And the one woman that was working there was telling us about how the one guy that used to work there quit because he was going to go be a video game influencer.
Oh my God.
And I said, did he have a lot of subscribers? And she's like, no, not really. And I was like, well, I wouldn't recommend that until you build up a bunch of subscribers first. And then if you have consistent, subscribers and consistent revenue, then maybe. And she was like, I wish you could have told him that, because we all thought it was a bad idea, but he up and quit his job. He was going to go do it. And he bought a bunch of equipment. And I'm like, well, just because you have the equipment doesn't mean that you can. I'm not saying he couldn't, but I mean, from my understanding, he didn't really have a reason to think that it was the time to just quit and go all in.
Yeah, I mean that's what we always tell people with anything, whether it's again coming from comics and coming from doing websites and coming from all the stuff that we've been quasi successful at in the past. You don't quit your day job until the thing you're doing is actually taking. Your day job is actually taking money away from the thing you're doing, right? So if you're like, hey, it actually costs me money to go to this day job because that time can be put into doing more of this and I'm going to get more of a return on my investment, and it's stable enough, I've been doing it long enough that I can see I'm going to get a return on my investment, that's fine. Because the bottom can fall out of any of this. That's another thing we've learned, is bottom can fall out of any of this stuff at any point in time. But I think they're watching these people, not realizing it's content, it's entertainment. Oh, look at my immaculate house, and I'm going and for content, I'm going and getting a mani-pedi, or I'm doing whatever. I got a new car. That's all for content. That's all like.
Yeah, it doesn't even mean it's true. Like,
no, it doesn't mean it's true.
There's so many different videos I've seen of people like showing how the people faked to look like, or how to fake it look like you're a big deal when you're not. And it's insane. It's like, and it causes a constant, you have to compete, it's like keep up the Joneses mentality, where you're constantly have to compete with everybody else, spend more money. And Gen Z is something else. You guys are, our kids are Gen Z. So we're not like just wanting this to be mean, like it's true. And they'll tell you this is true. You guys buy up any shit they show you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're not going to make money because every time there's something that they show you, you guys are just like, oh, cha-ching, I'll go buy it.
Oh, speaking of which, if you're looking to spend money, go out. These beautiful blingy ornaments. All the rich people on Instagram, they're going to be rocking these ornaments, and you're going to be left out. You're not going to have any of these pins.
There's a Lamborghini right behind me, I promise.
There is, yeah. I've actually got a couple of Lamborghinis. They turn into little robots.
That's actually true. He does.
Yeah, they're behind me. But so you want this bling because all your friends on TikTok and Instagram are going to have this stuff. And
it's limited time, very limited.
Limited, very, very limited.
So anyway, seriously though, guys, I know you're not wrong. Companies don't value you and they're going to screw you over. You're completely right. Unfortunately, that is the reality. I think it's shit too. A lot of other generations think it's shit too. It is what it is. Jobs suck. Would I rather sit at home and watch TV and watch the shows I want to watch? And not, because they said they wanted to work at home because they could watch our shows. Yeah, right. Who doesn't want to sit at home and watch TV all day?
Sure, we all do.
I mean, but the reality is, do you want to be able to pay for those subscription services? You have to do some work. Oh, this one was hilarious.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up with this. This is coming from the New York Post. This is their obligatory Gen Z headline of the day. Gutsy Gen Z employee requests time off from work for the most head-scratching reason. God, he was writing
Well, it's a good reason, but it's like... It's an awfully big request. I mean, I get it for like a day.
Hello, sir. I recently had a breakup and haven't been able to focus on work. I need a short break. I'm working from home today, so I'd like to take leave from the 28th through the 8th. Okay, so it's not like I need a day or two to compose myself. It's like I want to take a damn week and a half off.
Yes. Just because I broke up with somebody. And I get it. I mean, I get it. But over the years, how many of us have had tragedy in our lives, have had things like this happen, and you still had to go to work?
So when my grandfather died, and who I loved very much, he was like my dad.
Well, they were your custodial parents, like guardians. Yeah.
My grandfather died. I got one day off of work.
Because he wasn't a parent. Yeah. Even
because
though
he wasn't my parent, but he was my parent, but he wasn't. And the CEO, he can suck a bag of dicks. He laid me off like a month later. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to take off any more than that. And you know, so I'm sorry. I'm not trying to dismiss your breakup, but I'm gonna dismiss your breakup because I basically lost my dad, and I only got to take a day off of that.
A lot of
for
people
that,
will call off sick for a day or two if something like that happens, so they collect themselves, and that's fair and understandable. But I'm letting you know, I'm not even asking. I'm just telling you I'm working from home today, and I also need off. You know, I'm assuming this is a newer thing. It was probably October. So you're talking like 28th, 29th, 30th, 4 days. Well, I mean, whatever, weekends are in there too. And then, you know, through the 8th. I mean, that's like insane. That's like a whole week probably, at least, or more than that.
Oh my God. So yeah, the manager publicly showed the screenshot. He didn't blur out the names of the email. He wrote above it, got the most honest leave application yesterday. Gen Z doesn't do filters.
Well, at least they're honest.
Yeah, but the comments are even like, when it comes to work, they know their rights, speak up without fear, and refuse to tolerate nonsense. Their right at work, just what are those rights? Stand there staring at your phone for half their shift, never saying thank you for anything you do for them yeah. So I don't know. This is what's going on. So I'm telling you, what is going on right now is because of stories like this making the rounds on the internet. People are not hiring your generation because they're going to paint the entire generation with that broad brush. And that sucks. It really does suck for the people that want to work. But I don't know. Don't
bank on being an influencer.
Yeah, if you get a day job, don't quit your day job until you're making ridiculous money. And even then, you know what? The bottom can fall out at any point in time. I'm just telling you. We're going to wrap it up?
Yep.
Let's wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.